All right, it is now time for raising funds for world domination, day number 166. So the hearing that I've been talking about for some time now, that was yesterday. That was the third hearing I've done related to the N13 merits, where we argue the necessity of vacant possession for their proposed extensive renovations. And the conclusion from attending that hearing was we provided lots of evidence and argumentation around plumbing. And we are waiting for the tenant board to issue some kind of interim order or final ruling. So the conclusions that can happen are they could reject the N13s. They could dismiss all of them, or they could actually dismiss theoretically some of them. And the other option is they may schedule another hearing, which would make that the fourth hearing, which I guess going by this time, it would probably end up being like, if that happened, it would probably be after Christmas. But hopefully we'll get a conclusion soon. But until there is some kind of final ruling and then a termination order, then I can continue to live here. So recently I've been working towards trying to increase revenue by testing out Shopify. So I set up a store. The store is that allows me to show the product listings under YouTube videos. I made 4 sales so far. I still have a couple products up. And last week, my store products got disabled in Google Merchant Center, which causes them, so they're in Shopify. I had them in Shopify. Shopify syncs them to Google Merchant Center, and Google Merchant Center pulls them into YouTube. And they were disabled for being misleading. There's also the Google Merchant Center thing, that's necessary to be in good standing to get them to show up on YouTube, but technically you can still go to the link in the description and you can buy. There's I think an 8, if you want the regular expression stickers for $8, they're there. And you can also buy a sponsored block type in the block mining simulation game. So the 2 physical orders that I had, I mailed those today. Not that it matters because Canada Post is on strike. As for what I worked on today, I spent about half a day. So part of this, why those products might get disabled for being misleading, is I might have had a URL that linked to my other store's privacy policy, which is like a different domain or something, and there's the possibility for like inconsistencies and some things. Like I think for the shipping times, I put like 90 days, just like a pessimistic shipping time, but then it wouldn't sync over from Shopify, so some of the it's actually quite annoying in so Google Merchant Center, it's like, Google's version of Shopify, but it is like a duplicate different way of doing everything. So when I like select it, and the countries that ship products and stuff to in Shopify, and the shipping rates and all that kind of stuff, it syncs that information to Google Merchant Center. But then I can edit it in Google Merchant Center, so there's a possibility for like duplicate information to be wrong and inconsistent. And then if it's inconsistent, then some AI will come check it and be like, "You're misleading customers." Do shipments just pile up? Post office on strike? I guess so. I went down to the post office the other day and just asked them if they're what exactly happens if I try to mail something now. And I guess they just kind of sit on it for a while. The second strike in a few years now. The last one was in 2014, and then it seems to me a few years ago they had a significant service disruption. Actually, I remember when I mailed stuff. I mailed a bunch of. I had a Kickstarter that sold some stuff during the pandemic, and for a while, Canada Post like just completely disabled. Like they said they're completely ceasing shipments of mail to certain countries. Like I remember I had one customer who was in Brazil who I mailed a package to, and I can't remember. I think I might have mailed it and then it got returned or something. And then I said, no, I'll return it again. But then the postal system had shut down. So they're just like, they're totally ceasing attempts. Yeah, Canada Post is kind of on its last legs. They lose millions and millions of dollars. They're incredibly expensive. Honestly, it's it's really not a good situation because like small businesses starting a small business in Canada is already incredibly difficult, but the fact that the postal system is always on strike is often, or it's like on strike, or it's I remember I actually haven't mailed much in the past couple of years, but I was able to get away with mailing most parcels for like $20 or so, and then I tried mailing one again more recently, and it was like $40. There was a fuel surcharge or something. Just realized that amounts revenue losses across all of those post office locations. Yeah, there's definitely lots you could criticize. There was apparently a plan, I mean, years ago under our previous leadership, there was a plan, or there was a proposal years ago to like reduce costs with like community mailboxes or something, and they just like didn't do that. So then they they just continued operating unprofitably for years and years. I really think they should stop delivering the mail every single day, or I mean, they could even do something like, you know, if people want mail every day, they could pay extra pay like $2 or something a year or something. So I would say for the average person doesn't care to get the mail. Like the mail's slow anyway; it's always subject to delays. So you can't bet on something if you're waiting for something. Like for most letter mail, if you're waiting for something Monday and it takes out till Friday, it doesn't really matter. Anyway, lots could be said about Canada Post and its inefficiency, but it's pointless to talk about because anything that makes sense, the government won't do it because they like to lose money. So today we'll continue with working on the block mining simulation game. So working toward getting the crafting recipes and the generic list item menu working. So yesterday, I worked on this on stream, and I accomplished nothing because I was trying to debug something. Speaking of that, let me open IntelliJ. At some point in the last, I don't know, month or something, my ability to run the program within IntelliJ stopped working, and I guess I spent most of the stream trying to figure that out, and then kind of cut my losses. And today I merged in the useful work I have done and pushed that, and so I had a hunch. There's two issues that I was facing. I was facing one issue with the VM, so the ability to pass VM arguments. If I have two command line arguments that I want past the program, that was not working. And then the second thing was the emulate terminal option was not working in IntelliJ for some reason. And so today I compared with my other computer to see what what kind of differences there were, and what might be causing the behavior, that regression. And I think they're two completely different issues. I think that thing about the JVM option that's not working, I think it's actually a bug in IntelliJ, because I downloaded an older copy of IntelliJ, and on this exact same code base, I can get it to work with that. And then the second issue, with the terminal emulation not working, I haven't figured that out. I don't know what it is yet. Daily deliveries, premium service. Yeah, I think, honestly, very few people would pay for it. But then, I guess it would be, for the few people who would pay for that, it probably wouldn't even cost much. That kind of maybe, say, I don't know, how would you make that economic? $100 a year or something? I guess that's a good question. You have to do the math on what. See how many millions does or billions does Canada Post cost a year, and divide that by the number of people divided by the number of times they walk by your door. Just play around. Start with that math and play around with that. Fuzzballs says Sakura. Don't know what that's related to. Personally avoid home delivery when we can spare the environment. Road congestion by picking up orders from lockers. Yeah, mail. Some people want to get their stuff fast, but personally, I always prefer to get it cheap. I don't mind waiting for most stuff. I don't mind waiting a couple extra days if I can get it a few dollars cheaper. Because it's so frustrating when you buy stuff and the shipping is more than the item. I was thinking of making games in C++, but making them available on browser. I guess I'll have to figure it out. Well, you're thinking of making games in C++, but you want them to be available on the browser. I'd say you have to pick what your priority is there, because it's kind of mutually exclusive. I think there's probably by now some compilers and WebAssembly stuff, so you probably can run some C++ in the browser. But then again, if you're making it a game in C++, you would need to call into like libraries, like graphics libraries and stuff, and the C++ API for talking to those things probably, unless you pull in the dependencies and stuff. But yeah, so if you want to make games that are accessible, probably I guess JavaScript or actually I'm not even sure. Back in the day, it used to be Flash. ActionScript. Actually, I wrote a bunch of ActionScript back in the day. I don't know if that's even still a thing anymore, really. Seemed to my recollection, never opted for expedited delivery. Yeah, I kind of think there has to be something more going on. Like someone's like purposefully trying to drive Canada Post into bankruptcy or something. I mean, I think I've seen some cynical comments where people are saying that, the plan is to drive Canada Post into bankruptcy and then make it privatized, put it into bankruptcy, and then say we're going to sell it to the private sector, and then sell it because it's a bankrupt, worthless thing, then sell it for pennies on the dollar. So like private equity, and then private equity can buy it and then instantly make it profitable and then fix all the inefficiencies and then become extremely rich. But if we give up our national mail service, it's kind of giving away a bit of our sovereignty. I've heard of translation stuff to JS, but it's just an idea. How have you been? Not too bad. Got through the last hearing. Yesterday was the third N13 hearing. So right now we're just waiting to hear back from the tenant board, and we'll see how they rule. Could compile C to WebAssembly. Yeah, that's possible. Although I would have to assume that very few of the people who make games for the web do it that way. I think that's probably more of a thing where people, if you have something that's already written in C or C++, then you don't want to rewrite it. Then it's kind of a really convenient way to just get the exact same executable available on the web. And I imagine it's probably quite a bit slower. So I'll clone the latest here. So today, the other issue I was trying to figure out was, so the two issues preventing me from doing the debugging. One was the emulate terminal thing, which used to work, stopped working somewhere, and then the option to pass the JVM arguments for some reason was not. If I have more than one argument, then it wouldn't recognize the space for some reason. All right, so that runs. So first off, I tried a few things. I tried removing this because I don't know what's causing that terminal thing to not work. This issue here, this is the one I think is actually a bug in IntelliJ. So for some reason it's not, maybe it's not respecting the quotes. How much funds does world domination take? My goal is to get around 12 billion. And I think if I can get 12 billion raised, then I can get a good start. I've heard of Emscription can convert to WASM. I've heard that as well. Take a look into that. Robert can't deny C++ is the perfect language for backend and front end now. Yeah, I guess if you can cross-compile it, but then again, that's why the Node.js server project came about, so you can use the exact same language on the server and front end. Tekalora says, "Hey Robert, how's it going? Whoever brought my childhood home is going to receive some stickers." Whoever brought my childhood home is going to receive some stickers? Are you planning to buy some regular expression stickers? Dominating IntelliJ today? Yeah, today I'm going to be turning my attention to a bug I've been avoiding for a while. For some reason, like this thing here used to work, and I don't know why it stopped working. So I thought maybe it's like the Java version or something, but I just don't know. I thought it might have had to do with the Spring version. So I actually went through the work of, I was able to get, it broke some other stuff, so I ended up reverting it. But I did try upgrading the whole project to Spring Boot 3. And the problem still happened. So then said, okay, it's not, must be something else. So then I tried an older version of IntelliJ, and then if this the bug I had with the VM options, that went away. But oh, wait a minute, is the option not on? Oh, look at that. Emulate terminal's not on. Huh. That's unexpected. Because I thought that was set when I clone it. ShopPay has the wrong address. Oh, are you one of the people that ordered some of the stickers? I kind of didn't keep track. I got a handful of orders. I'm also just kind of testing out the shop. So if you do check it out, it's possible that it's configured wrong. Like I've already noticed, like there's a couple things. It's like someone paid using PayPal, and I didn't realize this, but and they don't make this obvious, but they offer a PayPal shipping, and so someone paid with PayPal, and I guess what Shopify expects me to do. So I guess it went to my. There was like a notification thing that went to my PayPal, and I was supposed to manually accept it in my PayPal, but because it's not connected to the Shopify thing, what it is, it just sat there with the payment, and then the payment expired, so I can't collect it. But it was only like a couple of bucks or something. But it's good to figure that out with some test products initially. And then other stuff, like I didn't realize there was a bunch of default shipping options. Like there's, expedited shipping, which I don't want to. I don't actually want to offer that, because it's like it just came up with a random price and then put that on there without me configuring it. And all kinds of other. I'm sure there's tons of bugs that I'll have to figure out. I am here. Just installed Java and Python development in executable environments on Windows 11. Excellent. Wonder if the garden is a better patch of lawn now. If it's configured wrong, it's my profile. I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure if that's in relation to what I was saying a minute ago. I will order some merch from you. I will support your cause. Excellent. Thank you very much. I think you should have sent the people at the hearing a glitter bomb and just forget the glitter. No, that wouldn't be nice. I don't. You're that's getting into inappropriate territory there. That's not how you win at the tennis board. Sounds annoying. I mean the shop setup process, it is pretty tedious. I messed around with it like all day long trying to configure it. Dev Chad sends happy face. How's it going? 5 says, hi Robert in chat. How's it going? Alright, so I added that parameter back, or that option back, and it's still saying it's not a TTY. Yeah, so I also messed around today with trying to get packages upgraded. I found this trying to upgrade to Spring 3. So the first thing to upgrade is Spring 3. Well, even if so just starting with this, I think I started with trying to upgrade this SL for J. And if I upgrade this to the newest version, that will end up breaking, and it requires Spring 3. It also requires like a bunch of other dependencies, because it's like logging in Java is so complicated, it blows my mind. There's all these logging interfaces and logging interceptors and stuff that I don't completely follow them. So anyway, to do that, then I'd have to upgrade. To upgrade the logger, I'd have to upgrade to Spring Boot 3. And if I upgrade to Spring Boot 3, that breaks a couple other projects, server projects I have. So there's like a launcher, there's an application entry point. I have to gonna make updates, code updates to that. But then also, I guess Tomcat Web Server 9 requires Tomcat 9 cannot run with Spring Boot, or it cannot run. Tomcat 9 cannot run with Spring Boot 3, so I have to upgrade to Tomcat version 10. But version 10 cannot run with the previous version of Spring Boot. So that means that I'm gonna have to like upgrade everything at once. So I can't just get it working. I can't upgrade one dependency. I'm gonna have to literally upgrade all of these dependencies and all these multi-module packages at the same time, and upgrade the web server, which is, I'm sure once I go from 9 to 10, there's going to be like 50,000 symbols that are not found, and I have to go back and refactor this and that and make all these code changes. Just upgrade the logging library. It says salute. Yeah, actually, I thought I kind of saw that. It's hard to read from this distance. My eyesight's also not the best. Earlier, when I said executable environment, what I meant to say was that runtime environment. I apologize. So sometimes I'm an idiot. Supreme. Oh, that's right. It's hard to communicate through chat sometimes, and also if I go on talking for a while and I start reading chat, usually if I'm reading the chat, I'm reading what someone responded to what I said a couple of minutes ago, and then if I forgot what I was talking about, then it's makes things confusing. Those are pretty much synonyms. Yeah, I guess executable environment. Yeah, I guess I would. I guess looking back at the original context, I would probably use those interchangeably. I don't think it's necessary to label yourself an idiot for that. We're getting you a massive screen. Yeah, eventually. I had it would be kind of neat to have an extra monitor just for the chat, because it's but then also if I have that, I mean it requires a lot of equipment to stream, so for now it makes sense to just make do with what I have, because if I get to run more monitors, I need more expensive equipment and stuff, and more cables, and everything I have is actually just barely on the verge of working. I have a I guess it's not that long, like a half decent HDMI cable to connect that monitor to the streaming computer, so this way what I see on this monitor is like exactly what's streaming, so I'm not like you'll see some people who are like alt tabbing into OBS, but for me OBS is running over there and I don't even have to touch it. And the computer I am working on is a separate computer, and what I do is I mirror the displays onto the stream computer, and then it takes that as input, and stream, and then that becomes whatever's in here exactly. Will your terminal game run in a Windows subsystem for Linux? PowerShell terminal. That's a good question. It's possible. There's I would say out of the box, I'm sure it will not run probably in PowerShell now, because there's a couple commands to get the terminal size, and those, I think the tput command. Actually, I'm not sure. Maybe there's a tput command in PowerShell, but if I recall correctly, there's a totally different way to get the terminal width and height in PowerShell. How many inputs on your streaming computer? I have there's two USB capture cards. So there's the camera is hooked up to USB, and that goes into it, and then this computer right here, that's a mirrored display that goes into it, and then in OBS I have these two. These are the two inputs, and then what you see on the side, these are just the windows from that computer. And it's kind of yeah, everything is on the verge of working, because I think it has like exactly enough USB 2.0 ports on it. If I needed like one more, it wouldn't work. And then I think the other USB is USB 2.0, so it won't work. And if I remember correctly, I even need to use a specific port for something. I forget. I think it's one of the video devices that needs to be faster. Otherwise it won't work. So what I'll do, change this. Could that be May 15? So let's check out this version. All right, so let's check the arguments and everything. So this is for Java 7, Java 17, and it's got emulate terminal and one of the parameters. And let's try that. And we'll put this on. All right, let's try that. Are the world domination plans real? Yep. If you there's a link in the description where I have a video where I describe my plans in detail. Robert Elder, Elite Software. Yeah, it's a good description for it. To me, PowerShell seems okay, but verbose and redundant. Microsoft could have improved the product design, but it would have sacrificed their vendor lock-in. Yeah, it's kind of amazing that Windows survived so long without any kind of built-in like a really useful shell. It would have made so many tasks so much easier. Very object-oriented, surprisingly intuitive. Raphael said, "Once you know the secret lingo." Yeah, I'm honestly not familiar with it all. I used it a little bit. I wrote like a small diff tool, and I tried to get it working in PowerShell. It was a Python program to do diffs, and it would work on Linux and Windows without modification in it, just like a single file diff tool. is this complaining? Warnings found. Let's just ignore warnings for now. So I predict that this will still have the problem with the arguments, with the VM options. But if the emulate thing issue goes away, then that might mean it might have been introduced. And that's a problem. I guess there's probably not many tests in this version. I'll just let them run. A northern Canadian island in a mining operation. High-tech import-export is part of the world domination plans, I think. Yeah. Yes. That is further evidence to my theory that there is actually a bug in the newest version of IntelliJ. So to fix this, we can delete one of the options. Because it only works if you use one option. Will your citizens be forced to use ED text editor and dumb terminals connected to mainframes? You know, I hadn't thought about that, but that's a very good idea. So I think I'll go along with that. We'll do it willingly. Yeah, I think if you attract the right followers who are on board with the program, live underground and use retro terminals, like in that Silo show. I'm not familiar with that. I don't. I'm very much out of the popular culture sphere. Are using hardware-based Linux or a VM. This is on bare metal. So this is Linux installed right on the old, it's just an old laptop that I have. So we got an error for something. Okay, this also calls it null. And we're operating on old code from May. I'm pretty sure this worked back then. I guess I gotta go back and check. I mean, that's actually the great thing about live streaming. If you want to just go back and check what you did a month ago. So this here is honestly kind of baffling. this is literally the same code that worked. Somewhere in here to set the Java version. So I kind of wonder if it's maybe somehow related to when I went from Java 17 to 21. If that broke it and I didn't notice. Forget where that is. Wiping Windows from modern hardware was kind of a chore for me personally. Maybe that's by design. VM was much easier to install. Yeah, I think for starting out with Linux, a VM I think is definitely preferable to get your feet wet. Especially if you're just if you have a decently fast computer and you want to switch between both. But eventually, once you're really comfortable with Linux and you have no use for Windows anymore, you can kind of just install right on bare metal to get the extra performance. Although having said that, with a lot of laptops, it is pretty frequent that I install it on a laptop. And there's always new laptops, so there's always new hardware issues. But if you install it on one that's a few years old, usually it'll be a bit better. Can I get involved if I'm from Argentina? Do I have to go through bureaucratic hell of getting a Canadian visa to become a citizen of Canada? I guess you could just hang out in the live streams and offer emotional support for the idea until we raise the 12 billion. We can talk about Linux in the meantime and about how to more efficiently build housing and solve all the financial woes of the world. There's an option in here somewhere for like setting the for configuring the like global the global Java version that's used by everything. I just want to verify that it's on 17. Let's make a new Linux distro called Line X. You can if you want. It's a lot of work to make your own distribution. I have a video on that if you want to watch it. If you want some pointers on how to get started with your own distribution. I think it's called. I think the title is my failed Linux distribution that no one uses. Could this be it? The more time passes, the more difficult it will be to install a distro on bare metal hardware. That's a question. It's kind of hard to see with the glare. It probably will be. Yeah, actually, I guess to your other point there about the difficulty of wiping modern hardware. I guess now there's I haven't really installed in the last few years on many new machines, but as soon as I think I know quite a bit about what's actually out there, there's new hardware features and stuff added all the time, and I know with like secure boot is probably, I mean there's reasons to have really locked down secure boot, but I think that's a new complication you have to think about with Linux, because technically like Linux is a virus from the perspective of Windows. Or even if you're running Linux to some extent, you don't really want random people installing their own distributions alongside you. So on my root, think I would have to relog to actually get that to take effect. So if I source it from here and then run it, I think it should make sure Maven is being run with Java 17. So it's very strange that just stopped working for no reason, because I haven't changed anything around that code. And this version of the code is from May. I don't think I've changed anything substantial since then. Just thought Linux was a cool name because it sounds like Linux. Also in reference to a command line. Yeah, it'd be good marketing for a new Linux distribution, but there's a lot of Linux distributions out there. It's relatively easy to just make your own, but then to maintain it is very expensive in time. Talking about those fancy consumer cyberpunk IoT RGB motherboards and notebooks. Yeah, a lot of the like gaming laptops and stuff. I think like video cards and stuff are notorious for having lots of driver issues. I had an old laptop that was that had an NVIDIA video card in it years ago, and I tried really hard to actually get it to work with Linux, but no dice. So we still got that error. That is interesting. So that's the version from May 2. Okay, and that's back when I started throwing that error. Yeah, that's basically back to the start of when I set this up. I have a plan for a distro based on Fedora. It's a set of scripts, but software architecture is actually a hard problem, and life gets in the way. Yeah, it'd be great if we didn't have to waste our entire existence working meaningless jobs to pay rent. If we could just focus on doing meaningful, new, interesting, innovative things. Dukyop Bias says, "Yo, how's it going?" I ruined an Acer Aspire laptop trying to wipe Windows and put Debian on bare metal. Interesting, you ruined it? I wouldn't expect Linux to ruin a laptop. But I guess it's always a good idea if you decide to wipe Windows off it. If you can create like a recovery image or something, I guess people don't even need DVDs anymore. I think they'll, if you create a recovery image, I think they usually just get it on a USB. So I guess I'm out of ideas on this. I think on the other computer, I tried rolling back IntelliJ to a different version. I also tried deleting like all the plugin and cache directories and reloading it. I tried recreating these run configs from scratch. Let's try something. So I'll just take a look at what the actual output is, because maybe my check, maybe that validation check is wrong. Try asking ChatGPT. This feels like it would be a common issue. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I've already, I've Googled for it quite a bit. And Google has like an AI summary stuff, and it's always like completely off base. I don't know. I kind of doubt. I don't have it. I'm not logged into it at the moment, but I guess I'm also just using like a heuristic to check if it's actually connected to a TTY. But I'll do a test here to see if there's actually a difference in the output that I see. Linux didn't ruin it. I did. Windows is back on it. It crawls when loading and downloading anything. Yep. Slow Windows. Okay, so it's hanging. Oh yeah, that's why I added that check in the first place. Emulate terminal. That's interesting because I think I tried it on the other machine where I commented out the check and then it would run, so it didn't deadlock, which implies that it was successfully running those cursor update sequences. So it was like kind of emulating the terminal. What to do? I guess I question if this is even worth spending time on. Google AI is inferior to ChatGPT. Yeah, it definitely is. I was trying to ask it today, actually, when I did my post today about the Canada Post strike. I Googled a couple times because I thought, it seems to me there was a strike during the pandemic. I guess there wasn't, or there's maybe they were like talking about it or something. So I kept Googling like 2021 Canada Post strike, and then it would say like there was no strike. And then I kept Googling stuff that was in the AI summary, and then I kept Googling about it, and then it changed the summary to be like, yes, there was a strike in 2021 from Canada Post in May. And then I changed the query around. I could just added a couple of words, and it would keep going back and forth from like, no, there was no strike in 2021, and then it'd be like, yes, there was a strike in 2021. It was kind of messing with my mind a bit because I didn't see a lot of articles. It's maybe, I wonder if it's not another part of the COVID cover up, that everything from that era that we can barely remember now. Want to go back and delete all the articles from the internet, get the AI to lie to us and gaslight us about the truth that there was a strike in 2021. They just want to suppress it. It's definitely not the first Canada Post strike. Yeah, I was looking this up, and there was one in 2024. There was like at least a month. I wasn't shipping anything during that period, so it didn't affect me. But I remember I thought it was somewhere through the pandemic. Yeah, I think it was last year. It was right through the Christmas season. It was like the worst possible time to strike. Chatbots are all worse. Better search with extra text. It can help you if you have a good idea what you're trying to do or trying to come up with. Yeah, I find for certain things, like for certain simple things where there's lots of data, they do improve convenience. But then I find in a lot of other cases now, it's not only in the AI summary, but I found also in the search results themselves, they're very like the AI is trying to make way too many inferences. Like there's like you can type a word, like you could say like if you Google for like lakes near me, it would know that lakes and ponds are similar. So then it would highlight the word lakes in the word ponds. So that's like an association that's reasonable. But then there's other stuff where it'll make like much further reaching associations. Like I was trying to Google for something. I was trying to Google for. It was something to do with like electronics. Oh, I think I was trying to Google. I wanted to know if there was a flyback diode in air conditioning units. Yeah, I think I was Googling for flyback diode air conditioner, and then what it would do is air conditioner can be abbreviated AC, and so then it was understanding air conditioner to represent AC, which represents alternating current, and then it was giving me results for alternating current and like highlighting alternating current flyback diode, and so it was ignoring the original context that I wanted to research, and it was like it's almost like an example of mental illness in like a search engine, and I found that it's doing some more and more stuff like that, where it's making like inferences that I didn't imply, and just being insane. Basic coding issues and debugging help. I've had much more success with ChatGPT. I think you still have to do the work at the end of the day. Can help with parts. Yeah, I find more and more, like when I do usually ask it, and I guess it's good for brainstorming, but if I ask it, it'll like list out some stuff, and everything I see there is like not wrong, but it very, very rarely just tells me what the solution is. So in this one, it looks like it's probably not actually emulating the terminal. Let's switch back to the other project. And we'll see what that does. The ad economy is killing the usefulness of the internet. There is a common saying that marketers ruin everything. Deleted the message by mistake. Phone interface makes it too easy. Yeah, it seems like YouTube doesn't actually work a lot on their UI. For the longest time, like some of the icons at the bottom would have like actually obscured the chat. Like I think that that heart symbol that used to be over the text, and I couldn't read messages sometimes. And there was no way to fix that. And then eventually they fixed the UI. Actually, that won't work. Because there's breaking code changes between Java 17 or 21. All right, it looks like that's hanging, which is what I'd expect if the emulate terminal thing wasn't working. That's so weird because it worked before. I tried searching to see if there's recent bug reports or something. Because it's weird, but that other bug, the issue with the VM options, that's I'm pretty sure a bug in IntelliJ. I can't find any bug reports for that as well. But then I downgraded to an old version, and this thing, I guess unless it's maybe also a bug in like a, maybe I don't know, third-party library or something that's been pushed. It's frustrating. But I guess not super important. I guess it just means I'll have to do any of the debugging in the external debugger. Making an OS that's safe for kids is one of my goals. It's led me down a rabbit hole of apps, ads, and venture capital. Yeah, I mean that's in the arena of stuff that venture capitalists would fund. Although having said that, I think the economy is going through a pretty seismic shift right now. Like the whole, I don't know if you watched my funding model diagram video, but I think we're in the midst of a complete reshaping of like how, I don't know, that kind of like the zero interest rate era that we had, where we had all these crazy tech companies and stuff. I think that era is not really going to happen again. So a lot of the like standard, a lot of the knowledge about how, you know, startups work and stuff that people have gained is probably, I'm sure there's a lot of people around professing knowledge, but just be aware that if you do try to fund stuff, a lot of stuff may not work. I think a lot of venture capitalists are like way less likely to fund any kind of new software development project, just because of the AI stuff. Investors don't want to invest a ton of money in some like SaaS application and then find out that some like AI generated thing is just going to wipe out their investment. So they're way more cautious. And then also this, like if you made some, you know, tax accounting app or something, Microsoft could just come out and make a competing product and put you out of business. They would just add it to their any kind of business software. They could just add. They would create it and then just add it to their portfolio of what do they even call it now? Office 365 or whatever. I have a free year of Office 365. Yeah, just think about like all the software that you have access to in Office 365. Think about how much money it would cost to pay a developer to build all that from scratch. Like if you raised venture capital to build all that from scratch. That's like many millions of dollars of software and development years. And right now you have access to it for free. And they can do that because of the economics. That is so frustrating. This doesn't work. The software slop machine can churn 1000x faster than dedicated individuals. Yeah, I mean, in some ways it can, but in other ways, like I do still think for complex projects, like I think if you have a complex accounting program, if you did make like a complicated accounting program, you would need engineers to manually develop stuff. But I think maybe aggregation of the tax rules and stuff, AI would help a lot with that. I have faith that innovative, good designs will still outshine. Yeah, they will. There's also there's a lot to think about. I mean, the world is changing in so many ways right now. We're also in a time where so much is changing that there could be like a societal change that makes the entire model like irrelevant before you actually get it developed. I think that's another big reason venture capitalists don't want to put money into this stuff. Yeah, it's a great tool. They were making slop long before GPTs. That's true. And there were some people they hired to write software and they didn't even do anything. I'm not even sure what I should try next. With the proper timing and right amount of ketamine, Elon Musk can be convinced to put money in anything. Yeah, maybe. If we can just make friends with Elon Musk. The problem is you've got a lot of competition. There's a lot of people. I'm sure Elon Musk gets a lot of emails every day from people who want money from him. I wonder how much spam he gets. I didn't figure out the issue. It worked. What bugs me is it worked before. Why doesn't it work now? Just put important in the subject. That'll work. Yeah, you can try that. My terminal's broken. So I'll try out the old IntelliJ. So I did have some success with that today. I'll see if I can replicate that. So that came out at the start of the year. Google AI account 1 says ping. How's it going? We're just downloading an old version of IntelliJ because the new one doesn't work. I root caused one of the issues I was looking at last night down to one of the GVM options doesn't work in the newer version, so that explains why it mysteriously stopped working. I think it like auto updated. Can you tell me more about why you want to use this IDE? Mainly for debugging. There's situations where it's just so much easier to run the debugger and set a breakpoint and just check the internal state. I'm only familiar with IntelliSense through VS Code. I'm a script kitten. I've actually never used VS Code personally. It kind of came after my time. But you got to start somewhere. Actually, I'm kind of behind because I think people I need to get more knowledgeable about these how to use these AI coding tools, which I guess I will have a bit more time in the near future to cover new video topics. Well, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm not looking forward to getting an Android Studio Build cleanup. I'm running for Android and iOS. Still need to get a Mac Mini M1. Mac Mini M1 from eBay at $300. I don't use Apple products, but I thought the M1 was well, I guess that's probably a few years old now, but I thought that was fairly expensive. I mean, is Sublime? Yeah, Sublime Text was a pretty popular editor. I've known it's interesting. I've known a bunch of people over time. Like people I went to school with, like some of the best developers would have the most like strange and eccentric like coding habits. Like there's this one guy I went to school with in residence, and he was like super knowledgeable about like really advanced like abstract programming theory, about like algorithms theory and stuff, and his main language was Haskell, which is like a fairly like a lot of academic programmers use Haskell, and the way he coded was by editing on GitHub. He just had like a GitHub repo, and he would just in fact I've never tried this. I didn't even know you could do it until someone told me. But he would just edit the, he would go on GitHub and edit his projects. And then lots of other people that just use like, was it Notepad++? Need a Mac to build an iOS app? Yeah, that's not surprising, I guess. GitHub actually has a pretty legit code editor. Yeah, I've never tried it. Notepad++? Yeah, but I mean, when you're starting out on your own and you have no one to teach you, I started out coding in just like Notepad. That was the like notepad.exe. That was the only way that I knew of. No syntax highlighting or anything. What's your favorite food? I don't know, I have lots of favorite foods. I would say candy. That's my favorite food. $5.20, that's not the right one. That's not what I expected. Did it crash? Oh, it crashed. Imagine coding in Microsoft Word. There was apparently some guy who solved like a novel problem in mathematics. It was like a statistical mathematical problem, and he came up with a proof of it in Notepad, but nobody paid attention because he proved it in Notepad, but it was actually like a novel thing. Having said that, programming, I mean, that'd be hard to, because you couldn't really, you have to take the code and put it into a compiler, but you would not be able to parse it because the text, like an actual Word document, has all kinds of well, I think Word documents are I can't remember if they're binary or XML. So you have to parse the XML before you can even parse your program. Okay, I want to open this project. Hopefully it don't crash again. Why is it asking me for this? PowerPoint is turning complete, from what I understand. Probably. I guess I wouldn't be surprised if it is. If I recall, for legacy reasons, Word documents are some kind of unholy amalgamation of memory dumps. Huh. Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, I seem to recall that Word documents are like some kind of binary thing. I remember trying to open them in Notepad back in my youth. Is that going to open? Maybe it's just not going to open in this version. All right, we'll assume that's bugged. Bill Gates reading this chat and getting increasingly more angry over the abuse and use of Microsoft software. That'd be unfortunate if it of all of the things that Bill Gates could pay attention to now, he's out there lurking through, looking for live streams. Bill Gates. I wonder what a day in the life of Bill Gates is like these days. Old people things? I don't know. I would assume that the standard old people things that most old people do are probably very different from the things that Bill Gates does on a daily basis. Thinking of good gifts for the Orange Man. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of I don't know, what do you call it? Lots of drama in the news about those people. Still a human body that would need medical care. I don't know. I'd assume he has a lot of meetings and stuff. He's always like meeting with people and conspiring and planning. Alright, hopefully this is not also bugged out. A.m. adrenochrome. 9 a.m. depopulation meeting. 10 a.m. massage. Yep, that's what I assume his schedule is like these days. Oh, look at that. It has the exact same bug. That's probably related. It's probably bad project stuff. Cannot move. Directory not empty. So that should get rid of all the old configs. And look at that, it's still hanging. I think it's hanging. It's not doing anything. Need a faster computer to do this on. Well, I didn't really accomplish much on this stream again. I guess I further validated my root causing of some of those issues. I still think it's maybe a combination of a bug in the newer version of IntelliJ and then some unknown thing that's making that emulate terminals not working. Although I recall today, one of the things I wanted to test was in the older version, I think it was still giving me that exception message, but then when I just ignored it, it seemed like it was actually processing the NCS keep sequences. So it is possible that both of them are due to a bug. But that'd be kind of weird. Two unrelated things. Well, I think once again I'll cut my losses and call it a night. Yeah. So annoying. It was such a simple thing, and it worked before, but it doesn't work anymore. It'd be nice if it was just a bug, and then they fix it in the new version. I can stop thinking about this. All right, I'll stop there for tonight, and we'll be back tomorrow night for day 167. All right, talk to you later, guys.